Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome back to the first live stream of the year. Hope you guys are ready to rock and roll. My apologies for being a few seconds late. Just trying to get everything back in order over here. It's been a while, as you guys know. Just coming back from vacation. I'm still technically, kinda, in vacation mode. I wasn't really supposed to come back till the following week, which is next week here. But yeah, you know what I mean? A lot of crazy things are going on in the world. As you guys already know, we started off with a bang, and well, I just felt the need that I had to go live. I had to, come in and talk about the realities of what moving to Mexico in 2026 is going to look like. What it's going to be like. Again, it seems like for a lot of people out there, things are just getting, crazier and more intense in the USA as each day goes by, and for a lot of people, they just, you guys want to get out as soon as possible. So, that's what we're going to be talking about today, and so on and so forth. So, welcome back to another show. Just give me a couple seconds here, you know what I mean, while we get everything ready to go. My apologies, because like I said, I wasn't ready. I wasn't planning on going live today, or, this week. So give me one segundo, and, just talk amongst yourselves there, and I'll be right back. Oh, wrong button. All right, we're ready to go. Oh man, sorry about that, guys. This is the thing. It's when I go live, when I do live streams, live shows, anything happens, and sometimes, as soon as I click the button to go live, that's when my nose starts to itch or whatever, So, it is what it is.
Bruh.
All right. So, anyways, guys. Yeah, sorry about that. Hey, what's going on here? Oh my gosh. Yeah, so many updates, so many things going on. So anyways, guys, all right, so what does the reality of moving to Mexico in 2026 look like? Well, again, as I've told you guys, for years, as I've mentioned in previous videos not too long ago, just in this past December, the clock is ticking. As each day goes on, it's going to be increasingly more difficult, for you out there to finally move abroad, get out of Dodge, do whatever it is you got to do. Again, as the year started, it started off with fireworks. I mean, look at what happened in Venezuela. We've already talked about that, in a video that I made a couple days ago. Look at, what happened, in the U.S. and not too long ago. Again, I'm trying to avoid a few words here. We just started, the live stream. I got to give it like a few minutes before I can talk about certain things. But, again, you guys know what happened with the shooting up north, in the USA. And it's just hell is breaking loose. I mean, it's just one thing after the other. Look what's happening in other parts of the world as well. So, right now it's more like people are scrambling, to keep it together. But at the same time, scrambling to kind of figure out what they're going to do. And I see it, I can definitely see it on my end over here. And it's just going to get more intense as the year goes on. Because, again, we're only 1 week into the year. And look at all the things that have been going on so far. So, real quick, before we get too into the show, in today's live stream, we're going to be walking around Tlaquepaque. Tlaquepaque is a magic pueblo that is in Guadalajara. And it's a tourist attraction. It's a touristy, part of the city. And when we went there a couple years ago now, wow, as time flies, huh? But when we went there a few years ago, obviously I took a lot of video, a lot of footage, and so that's what we're going to be showing you in the background today. As like we like to do. I like to have something in the background to keep you guys entertained. In case I get a little boring or what have you. By the way, guys, please, if you have any questions at all pertaining to anything, going forward, please, go on ahead and ask me those questions. Me, I try to, get to your questions and answer them as best as possible while on the live stream, because I know a lot of you guys are worried, as the new year is, coming along when it comes to things like residency. I know a lot of you guys are extremely worried about, getting your residency because, it. Again, I don't know if the official numbers are out yet or not, but again, as of 2025, it was already getting extremely expensive, to qualify for residency through your financial solvency. And again, it seems like this year is not going to be any different. Again, there's estimations that it's going to be even more expensive this year going forward. And so, for a lot of you guys that are looking into getting your residency that way, or looking into moving to Mexico, and you don't want to make that move because you're afraid, of your residency status. Well, again, these are things that you have to take into account because it's not going to change. You still need to get your residency at some point. There are many ways to get your residency, as you guys know. We've talked about it here on the channel. But this is one of the many things, for a lot of people out there right now. Again, I don't even know what you guys could be thinking. I know there's a lot of, there's a lot of conflict in the USA at the moment, and again, just what happened over there in Minneapolis, for example, right now, just looking at Twitter, looking at Instagram, looking at Facebook, whatever, you see there's a lot of, people picking sides and things not going good over there. So, again, I wasn't planning on going live today, but I decided that, again, I had to show up. Because I don't know, I figured, I thought, that you guys might have some more questions or thoughts, as to what's going on. And, again, moving into, Mexico going into 2026. Again, for a lot of you guys out there, it should not be affecting your plans, other than probably speeding them up. So, D Mao is saying some places are saying residency requirements are going down a little because they're using a different formula this year, like $100. Oh, well, there you go. So, that's a positive thing. Thank you, D Mao, for, letting us know on that. Yeah, because that's the thing, for a lot of you guys, that's a big worry. So the fact that it's not really changing much, that's actually a positive thing. So, Chai CC says, it will go down. It did go down for any consulate using the recommended UMA formula, which is the formula for the minimum wage. But it's up to each individual consulate. Correct. Okay, so that hasn't changed much. It seems like that really hasn't changed much. When it pertains to moving, to getting your residency that way. But again, guys, as you guys already know, there's other ways to get your residency. When I came out here to Mexico, I didn't have a prayer or a hope of getting a residency through financial solvency or any other way. And, after just living out here, on an expired tourist visa, eventually I found my future wife. And, I just got residency that way by getting married. Now, of course, I had to fix my residency status before I got married. But at the end of the day, it's something that's totally fixable. And, the reason I'm talking about immigration is because, a lot of people out there in the audience, they might not be aware of how things work in Mexico. They see what's going on in the USA as it pertains to immigration. And for a lot of people, they're probably scared, thinking that, they can't be out here in Mexico without the proper legal status, or they can't be out here in Mexico, period, end of story, because they're all of a sudden they're going to be targeted. Because in the USA, people are getting targeted no matter what their legal status is. And, that's a big worry for a lot of people. The reality is, moving to Mexico in 2026, a lot of the things that I talked about here on the channel haven't really changed per se. Again, with all the things that are happening in the USA and around the world at the moment, a lot of the things that I've been saying for years are only, just becoming more cemented, or how do I say this, becoming more viable or a reality going forward. So, one of the things that I'm always talking about, I used to talk about a lot more, but I don't talk about so much anymore because I haven't lived in the USA for over 7.5 years. But, one thing that, I do like to talk about from time to time, and I used to talk about a lot more, is the fact of just a safety issue compared, again, Mexico to the USA. Look at what's going on right now as it pertains to the violence, okay? The violence in the USA, the violence towards immigrants, the violence towards just regular U.S. citizens, and so on and so forth. And that just does not happen out here in Mexico. Of course, there's cartel violence. Of course, there's, corrupt cops out here in Mexico. Of course, there's certain things like that. But, as I've said multiple times, on this channel, if it comes down to the fact that, if I get pulled over by a cop in the USA, I'm probably going to get, lose my life, as opposed to getting pulled over by a cop in Mexico, and I'm just probably going to lose 25 to 50 bucks. It's a big, big difference. And so, there's two types of corruption, and I would rather deal with the petty corruption out here than over there. And just so many other things, with the violence that's just on a daily basis out there in the USA. You're just not going to find that out here. You're not going to find the animosity towards immigrants. You're not going to find any of that. Of course, there are Mexicans, out there that might not be happy with immigrants, might not like, gringos, might not. That exists in every corner of the planet. But the reality is that after living here for so long, the reality is that, most Mexicans, just like many people around the world, they can separate the politics from the people. So even though, most Mexicans and most people in Latin America and most people around the world at this point might not be happy with the USA, might not like the actions of the government in the USA, and so on and so forth. It does not mean that they don't like you, all right? That they don't like the people. They understand. In fact, at this point, with everything going on, more Mexicans in Mexico are, more understanding and realize why you might want to move out to Mexico, why you are living out here in Mexico, because they see, they don't see everything that happens in the USA, but a lot of Mexicans see a lot of what happens in the USA, and they see that, well, things are not going very well over there. And as more and more Americans and Canadians and Europeans and everybody, but let's just, stick to Americans for now, as more and more Americans are moving into Mexico, and again, they interact with other Mexicans, and think about it. You're just at the grocery store and you're talking to another Mexican, and they ask you, "Hey, why did you move to Mexico?" You know what I mean? The reality is that, yeah, maybe 10 years ago, a decade ago, it would be, "Oh, I'm here because I'm retiring," or "I'm here because I love the culture, I love Mexico." But at this point, a lot of you guys, a lot of us, we basically answer with the reality of what, it is to live in the USA these days. And you say, "Well, I'm living in Mexico because it's much more peaceful in Mexico. I live in Mexico because, I don't have to be afraid of my life out here in Mexico. There's more violence in the USA. The economic situation in the USA is terrible. There's a better economic situation here. The people in Mexico are a lot happier, with a lot less, out here," and so on and so forth. And as most Mexicans are listening to all of us and see what's going on in our home countries, well, they're more sympathetic and they're more understanding of the situation. Again, not everybody, you got to remember that. But at the end of the day, the good majority of Mexicans are totally understanding. Again, it's all up to you and how you behave, how you comport yourself, how you act. If you're out here in Mexico and you're nice and, you're, how do I say this? You have conversations with people. You're not mean. You're not trying to impose your way out here. You're not, forcing people to speak English. You're not acting like an entitled individual. Well, you got nothing to worry about. Most people that come visit Mexico or live in Mexico are welcomed and beloved, all right, by the Mexican people. And again, as time goes on, more and more people understand. You don't have to say much. You know what I mean? At this point, to most Mexicans as to why, you're choosing to live in Mexico over the USA. Of course, Mexico has its own problems, but compared to the USA right now, or even Canada or other places, it's nothing. You know what I mean? There's no problems, compared to back home. So, all right, let me read a few comments. I know you guys are, probably asking me a few things, but shout out to everyone out there in the chat. Charlotte says, "Are my plans dead in the water since I don't have $80,000 tourist visas runs doable? Is that risky? I'm on Social Security." So, again, the reality is that I've explained how a lot of the residency things, work. So, for example, I don't know what your situation is out there, but a lot of the thresholds, the financial thresholds when it comes to residency at the consulate, they differ depending not only on the consulate but on the individual, meaning you. So, for example, I've interviewed many people out there that have gotten their residency through the consulate, and look, what it boils down to is this. They have a threshold, a number, that's what they're looking for, right? But the older you are, okay, the lower that threshold gets. Okay, so right now, let's say, it's $80,000. Again, don't quote me on this. Okay, please do your own research, but, just speaking from experience from so many other people that have, done this already. So let's say the threshold is $80,000, but you might only have $60,000 or whatever. Or, the threshold is that you got to have, $2,000 a month, and you only have $1,800 a month, or whatever it is, right? Well, the older you get, the less you need to have, to meet that threshold, or the lower the threshold is. The younger you are, so like I know people that have, again, let's say the limit is $80,000, they have $800,000, and they still can't get permanent residency. The best that they can do is get temporary residency, and they have to prove by living here that they love Mexico, or whatever, that they want to live here, so that they can eventually get their permanent 4 years later. But like I said, a lot of it depends on age. People that are my age, 44, 34, 54. Well, again, your threshold, they're going to be, again, the younger you are, the more they're going to want to see from you, or the more strict they're going to be when it comes to what you have to have. But the older you are, well, guess what? The older you are, the less, they're strict they're going to be. In fact, all they really care about, the older you are, again, I'm talking about once you're retired, okay? Really, that's when the threshold, changes, all right? Once you're retired, because once you're retired and you're getting a monthly pension, a monthly Social Security check, a monthly something, well, they know that you're going to be guaranteed a monthly check, so they don't have to worry about your financial status, and they know that all you're going to be doing is living in Mexico, okay, and spending all of that money here in Mexico. The reality is that all they want to make sure of is that you are not a burden to Mexico. That's it. And if you're young, well, again, they don't want you to be taking jobs or taking opportunities or whatever. Sure, if you have high skills, if you have, certain, things that will help Mexico or whatever, you know what I mean? Then yes, of course, you can find work here, especially if you're specialized and so on and so forth. But it doesn't matter your situation. You can find work, you can start a business, you can whatever. And so they know that the younger you are, the more you're going to impact the economy that way. But the older you are, well, again, if you're 65 years old or 60 years old, you're not starting a business. You're just basically retiring out here and spending all your money out here. So they want that. So that's the thing. That's why all this stuff is on a case-by-case basis, situation-by-situation basis, consulate-by-consulate basis, and so on and so forth. So again, do not automatically, think that you're just not going to be able to qualify for residency. Because it's all on a case-by-case basis and a situation-by-situation basis. Again, I came out here 7.5 years ago. I only had $1,500 to my name, and I wasn't making much money. I was making less than $1,000 a month, all right? And a lot less. And there was no way I was ever going to be able to qualify for residency. And I couldn't qualify, through financial solvency, and I wasn't going to be able to qualify through residency through other means. Well, except for, I was able to get married. And just being able to, look, that's another thing too. And so a lot of people don't understand this. So like in the USA, or other countries, if you're going to get your residency or citizenship through marriage, well, guess what? They're very, 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 very strict, on how you go about that. Where in Mexico, that wasn't the case at all. In fact, like I said, once I got married and I got all my paperwork and I went to immigration, with my wife and all the paperwork and everything to get my residency. And long story short, they were like, why is she here? You know what I mean? Is this residency for her or for you? You know what I mean? Like, she doesn't need to be here. Just give me the paperwork, pop, sign here, do this, whatever. And that's it. And I got my residency. And then when it came to get my permanent residency, it was just filling out some paperwork like I'm just renewing my residency. That's it. And it just went from temporary to permanent. That's it. And so even if you get your, let's say you get your residency through let's say you only get temporary residency through financial solvency, right? You're not qualified for permanent, right? Well, guess what? You get a 4-year temporary residency, all right? And then you just wait the 4 years, all right? That you need to have temporary residency for. And then once it comes time to renew, it's just like renewing your license or renewing your passport. It's just, hey, here's the paperwork, here's the fee, boom, boom, and that's it, you're done. You don't gotta, you don't have to show financials again. I did not have to show that I was still married and so on and so forth. Again, depending on, if you get your residency through a job or you get your residency through, family reunification and so on and so forth. So it is not strict. It is not as strict. There are certain things, the bureaucracy out here is, a little something left to be desired. But, compared to other countries and other situations, it is extremely easy. It's still difficult, none of this stuff is easy, but just compared to how they treat you in the USA, or other countries as it pertains to getting your residency, getting your legal status, it is so much easier. And they work with you. And again, even if you're here on an expired visa, that's another thing. Again, I've had Jose Novello, which is a lawyer, okay? And he's not just any lawyer, okay? Jose Novello, he comes on the show a lot. He is a tax lawyer, an immigration lawyer. He specializes in things like the business law, real estate law, things like that. Just like most Mexicans, he does many things, just like I do, just like many people do out here. So he also has a real estate company, and the company sells real estate and so on and so forth. And those are the videos that we do here on the channel that you guys love so much when we do those real estate tours. But I digress. The point is that he, is not gonna, he has come on the show multiple times and explained not just everything I just explained, but other things, such as, again, if you are out here on a 180-day tourist visa, all right, and it expires, okay, if, with the mentality that most people have in the USA, you're here illegally, you're an illegal alien, they're gonna deport you, they're gonna, ICE is coming to get you, all that, but that's not how it works out here. Out here, what happens is that if you have a visa of any kind, okay, whether it's an FMM, tourist permit, or a residency, a temporary residency, or whatever, right? Work permit, whatever, and it expires, and you are out here without any legal status, all right, meaning you don't have a visa, you don't have residency, you don't have anything, you're not here illegally. That is not considered illegal in Mexico. What they consider this by law, okay, what they consider that is that you are irregular, okay? Your residency status is irregular. And basically what that means is that you need to get regularized, all right? Meaning you need to fix your status. That's all it means, all right? You're not gonna, get deported or anything like that. Again, obviously, if you, do a crime, if you're acting a fool, if you do certain things, then yes, there is a risk. We've talked about it, very extensively here on the channel. But when people ask me, are they cracking down on visa runs? I'm like, no, why would they crack down on visa runs? This is not the Philippines or Thailand or any one of these countries. This is Mexico, and it's a completely different animal. In fact, I need to remind you guys over and over again that the USA and Mexico have one of the biggest land borders on the planet, all right? And people literally cross that border daily. Literally the same person crosses that border daily, all the time, all right? And so on and so forth, because there's a lot of people that might work in the USA, all right, and they live in Tijuana. For example, I'll live in Tijuana and I work in San Diego, and every single day my commute to work is just going back and forth. And also backwards, people that work in Mexico and live in the USA. And that's just one example of many, all right? And so, obviously, there's a lot a nuance when it comes to the whole getting your renewing your visa depending on the land border you're crossing or the airport or whatever. But long story short, it's not like that big of a humongous problem, all right? It's not, they're not cracking down. They're not giving you 3 days instead of 180 days and things like that. Of course things happen, but those things can be rectified. And we've talked about it multiple times here on the channel. In the USA, most Americans these days are very afraid of challenging authority. Out here, you can definitely, challenge authority. If you're, if you feel like you're being treated wrong, you have rights, and so on and so forth. So, all right, sorry about that rant. All right, let me, me and my rants. I just go off on rants. It's been a while, guys. Anyways.
Bruh.
All right, let me see. Let me read a few comments. Oh, also, yes, thank you, D-Mao. So look, I know every single human out there that's watching this channel or watching videos or channels like this is in a completely different situation. So for a lot of people, your need to find a country to land in and get your residency is, you need that ASAP. You don't got time to wait. You don't got time to come to Mexico and do visa runs, or you don't have the ability because you might be too old, or you might be handicapped or something. I don't know. There's a lot of people I've dealt with throughout the years, and for example, someone in a wheelchair, they can't just be doing visa runs all the time. So for a lot of people out there that are in certain situations, perhaps another country might be your best interest. This is why I also interview people from other channels that live in like Paraguay or other countries, because, again, there's many options out there. So for example, D-Mao just said, you can try Ecuador, you can try Panama, you can try Paraguay. Remember, I interviewed, my really good friend Ryan, and he lives out there in Paraguay. And basically, to get your residency there, you just gotta, in order to get your residency in Paraguay, from my understanding, you just gotta show up and have a pulse, and you're good to go. You know what I mean? You don't gotta,
Bruh.
What is it like? Show financials or show anything like that. So there are options out there for you guys, and some people might be worried that living in Mexico might be too close, to what's going on in Venezuela, and I totally understand that. So again, a lot of people are looking at South America. Paraguay is right next to Argentina. It's all the way down south. So again, Paraguay, Ecuador, Panama, and there's other countries out there. So do your research. And, there are options out there for you to land in. And at the end of the day, you can collect your Social Security check no matter where you are. Outside of Cuba, North Korea, whatever, Venezuela. But other than that, you can collect it anywhere. And, there are a lot of places in the world, okay, that have even lower cost of living or different, climates, or, there's many options. The reality is that Mexico at one point was a very affordable option. But as Mexico, keeps getting, more popular, as Mexico's economy keeps growing, as Mexico keeps booming, well, guess what? It's getting more expensive for many people out there. For me, for example, this is home. Like, why would I leave? It doesn't matter at this point if it gets too expensive or not. In fact, as my expenses are increasing, and certain things, like certain things in my cost of living are just gonna keep increasing, and so on and so forth. Whether it's the exchange rate, whether it's variables as to pertaining to my small business and how much I make, and so on and so forth. I myself have to figure out other ways in which to make money, which I am, all right? In fact, I was still working on this throughout this week, and I was hoping that, hopefully by next week, I can start doing the big reveal as to, all the things that I'm working on here and I'm working on for the other channels, and so on and so forth. But the reality is that, out here, it's just, it's like an open canvas for a lot of people. In the USA, for me personally, I'm 44 years old. I really don't have much hope, for me to, buy a home, to start a business, pay my bills on time, and so on and so forth. Where out here in Mexico, I have, the luxury to be able to live a normal life, a semi-normal life. And, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, again, I'm stress-free out here compared to how I would be in the USA. I'm safe and sound as opposed to, not being safe in the USA. I have more chance out here to, again, be able to start a business or be able to lift myself and my family up economically, and so on and so forth. So, for me, even if Mexico gets more expensive, the way I'm looking at it, the way I see it after living out here for so long, is that, well, yeah, okay, even if it gets more expensive, if you are established out here in Mexico and you're making money out here in Mexico, or you are, living your life out here in Mexico, it's really not going to matter much. All right. At the end of the day, money is just a tool to get from point A to point B. And what a lot of people are really, really looking for is peace of mind, higher quality of life, a better quality of life, and so on and so forth. And so those are things that you're going to find out here. And I would not trade them for anything in the world. Doesn't matter. Even if Mexico, again, it's most likely not going to happen, but we never know as things keep getting crazier out there. But even if Mexico were to be just as expensive or more expensive than the USA, I would still live out here. It's just a straight up fact. I mean, because even if things are getting more expensive, people are making more money, and so on and so forth. So anyway, so yeah, the reality is that, for a lot of you guys out there, the time is now. You got to stop wasting time, stop planning it, just figure out, you need to start figuring out what your course of action is going to be. The older you are, the more difficult it might get, because the reality is that the older you get, the reality is that most of you guys are on a fixed income. And so if you're older and you're on a fixed income and it's not that much, and the dollar keeps losing value and the Mexican peso keeps getting stronger, well, things are just going to keep getting more and more expensive for you, and you're only going to be bringing in the same amount of money. But again, if you are an entrepreneur, you have your small business, or you have the ability to still work, whether you're going on my website and getting a digital nomad job, or whether you're working for a company here or abroad, or whatever it is you're doing, there's a lot higher chance that you're going to be able to be okay, because you're going to be making more money, because everyone's making more money. That's the thing too. That's one thing that I keep track of, and I try to keep an eye on while I'm living out here, is that even though things are getting more expensive for everybody, well, more people are also making more money. There's more money flowing around for most people. Not everybody, but there's a lot more money. And so it's a completely different economic situation than what you're seeing in the USA, where in the USA everything's just getting more and more and more expensive, and you're not making more money. In fact, you're making less money, because as each year rolls on, the inflation is so high, you're actually taking a pay cut. You're not even getting any kind of raise. While out here, everybody's getting a raise. It doesn't matter what your situation is. Again, the Mexican president is constantly raising the minimum wage, all right, and so on and so forth. And again, you got to remember that most people don't even get paid the minimum wage. Most people get paid more than the minimum wage, because the minimum wage here is still so low that it's hard to survive on it, even though people do. People still can survive on a minimum wage out here. Again, survive. I'm not saying, living the greatest life ever. Where, again, in the USA, there's a lot of people working minimum wage jobs, and they got to do multiple minimum wage jobs per household, and it's still not even close to enough. So it's a big difference. And so, a lot of the things is that, one thing that I've realized throughout the years is that when I first moved here 7.5 years ago, most of the people that were moving out here were just retirees, of all shapes, and all incomes. But as time has gone on, there's less and less retirees moving out here for various reasons, or maybe the same amount, but what has increased is everybody else. So everyone that's not retired, all right, and below. And again, I've interviewed multiple people here on the channel that are in their 30s, early 30s, mid 30s, late 30s. I moved out here at 36. I am 44 right now. There are plenty of people that I interact with and I talk to, that are my age, that have family, they got kids, multiple kids. And again, the reason they're moving out to Mexico is because of the better quality of life that they can provide for them, for their family, for their kids. And a lot of them are even taking pay cuts or making huge sacrifices to move to Mexico and leave the USA. Many people are leaving businesses behind. Many people are leaving, all kinds of things behind, which, by the way, guys, again, shameless plug here, but going forward, I'm going to be providing a lot of solutions for everyone out there, because that's another thing too. A lot of people, again, I've talked about it here on the channel for a lot, that if you have a successful business or successful life, you got your things are pretty good in the USA, it is very difficult to cut away from all that and move to another country. And again, I got solutions for that. I got solutions for a lot of people out there. So that's the thing, you know what I mean? Like the reality is that as time goes on, I'm seeing more and more younger people moving out here. I'm not talking about 20-year-olds, all right? I'm talking about really, again, people in their 30s and 40s. They just see no real future in the USA for various reasons. So, all right, we got Ernesto Perez with a question in Spanish. Una pregunta, mi esposo y yo no estamos listos para retirarnos ni tampoco tenemos un oficio para trabajar desde la casa y poder vivir en Mérida. ¿Existen otros trabajos que pudieras desempeñar? Yeah, so basically, you're asking me about, okay, in Spanish, I'm going to translate to everyone else out there. She's basically asking me, hey, are there any other kind of job opportunities for me and my wife? Because, we're at a certain point in our, okay, so look, yes, there are jobs out there. I know people in their 50s. Yo conozco, okay, so sí hay trabajos, okay, pero hay que ponerse a buscarlo y algunas veces tienes que empezar tu propio negocito o tienes que buscar un trabajo online. So look, basically, yes, there are jobs out there. There are job opportunities out there. Okay, I'm going to show you guys real quick what you guys can do. All right, so real quick, we're going to go to my website. Okay, there's my website, shameless plug, all right, so I can help you guys out. All right, I'm guessing you speak English as well, Ernesto. All right, but anyways, go to my website. This is for everybody. I'm doing it in English, but go to my website. All right, and on my website, right there, you got a bunch of links, okay? So you got Mexico, moving to Mexico, general information. And right at the top, you got digital nomad jobs, okay? So right off the bat, we're going to just click at the top, digital nomad jobs, all right? And look at that. You got tons of jobs, okay? So you can do things like teaching English. You don't need a special degree. You don't need anything. You just need to speak English, all right? And basically, you're having conversations with people, okay? And I don't know what you get paid. I think $10, $12 an hour, maybe more, depending on, various factors. But again, that's plenty of money to get you by here. So you can do that, all right? You can also find jobs out here, all right? Obviously, if you know English and Spanish, all right? So jobs in Mexico. So you got a few websites there. And then you got a bunch of freelance gigs and a bunch of other things that you can do your own research on and hopefully find some work, all right? Now, going back to the home page, all right, right there on the home page where it says moving to Mexico, you see, right there? All right, we're going to click on moving to Mexico, and right at the top, the second video, okay, is how to find a job in Mexico, earning money in Mexico. Watch that video, okay? Again, please go to my website. I got tons of free information. Everything I do is free, okay? The only thing I charge people for are consultations. If you want to talk to me one-on-one and have a consultation and ask me anything and everything, hey, we can do that, okay? I sell t-shirts like this one, all right? So, I don't know, can you guys see me? All right. So, whatever, all right? So that's how I make my money, and I'm starting a small business, which, you guys will see soon, all right? So anyways, long story short, you click on that video and it'll give you tips on what you can do. If you're bilingual, great, even better, all right? Because you can work for another company. Again, remember, there are many companies that are based in both countries. So there's tons of options. You got to find them. You got to work for them. You got to figure them out. Some people, a lot of Mexicans decide to do, become an entrepreneur and just start their own business and stuff. So, there's a lot of things that you can do. But I go into detail as to what your options are, and even if you do want to start a business and all that stuff, okay? So also, if you want to, again, find real estate, find a home, that's the first video. A lot of people ask me, hey, how did you, right there, all right? Same thing, okay, how do you find a job? I got 20 of the most asked questions, okay, 20 things that you need to know. A banking option. We got apostles, how to get your citizenship, all right? If you're, have family heritage or whatever. Residency options, all right? And so on and so forth, all right? Homes, again, another link here to the digital nomad jobs, all right? So you got to put that work in, okay? Unfortunately, you know what I mean? And, it's just the reality of it, all right? So, but there are options. There are options, all right? And you know, one thing you guys also need to check out, okay, is my cost of living episode that I did very recently. Again, not that long ago. You can see it. Where is it? Right above my head there, right? Where did it go? Hold on. Can you see it? Oh yeah. Sorry, it's right there above my head. All right. So you can watch that video and you can see, you know, what my cost of living is. All right. All right. You can see what my cost of living is and compare it to what yours could possibly be. All right. So, you know, again, I have tons of free information. All my videos are free. All my videos are full of information. All right. Whether I'm actually giving you real hard, you know, information like numbers, you know, on, you know, cost of living, or I'm giving you jobs, or I'm giving you whatever, or I'm giving you commentary, or I'm giving you opinions, or I'm giving you, again, real world examples of what's really going on and how to get your residency and so on and so forth. I interview people. So again, please, you know, look, here's my YouTube page. All right, we're gonna go to my YouTube page real quick here. So again, on my YouTube page, again, I got tons of videos on the site. So right there, you see all the way at the top where it says store, all right? And you see where it says search, you see it right there? Search, right at the top. Just type in anything, any topic, anything, all right? Let's go with job, all right? Just job, you see? And business in Mexico, whatever, okay? Let's go with residency. Whatever topic, okay? Whatever, all right? You know, let's go with whatever topic, all right? Whatever topic, all right? I got something for everybody here, okay? So please, okay? You know, go, check out the rest of my site, okay? Check out the rest of my all right, my YouTube page, and, you know, tons of free information. If you don't want to sift through my videos, you don't want to watch my videos, you can just set up a consultation, and I'll give you all the answers to whatever. So that's the thing, you know what I mean? Like, the reality is that now more than ever, you have more tools available than ever. It's not just my channel. You know, again, I've been doing this for 7.5 years, but how many channels have, in that time span, how many channels have spawned, have, you know, kind of just come out of the ether, all right? And all over Mexico. Because I'm living here in Mérida, but, you know, there are people living in Querétaro, there are people living in Guadalajara, there are people living in Tijuana, there are people living in Baja California, there are people, and they're sharing their unique experiences and their way of life, their cost of living, their all that stuff. So it's very different. You know, why do I choose to live here? Well, because I am a native Floridian. I am from Miami, Florida. So the weather here is very similar. The culture is very similar. It's in the Caribbean. It's very tropical, blah, 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 whatever. I got my reasons why I love it here. I don't like the cold weather, all right? Some of you guys hate the hot weather. Some of you guys hate the beach. Some of you guys hate that, you know, okay, great. You know, you can move out to the mountains. You know, most Mexicans, you know, live in the mountains, all right? They don't live in the desert, all right? Not every Mexican has a cactus, all right? Or a donkey. Speak for yourself. All right. You're not a donkey, bro. You're a horse, all right? So, yeah, we got horses here, too. So, I mean, you know, that's the thing, guys. You know what I mean? The reality is that, you know, these days you have more tools than you've ever had before. You got more information than you've ever had before. But you got to do your homework and your research. And, you know, I can only take you guys so far. I know there's other YouTube channels and other people out there that sell services and sell all kinds of things. But, you know, a lot of that is more of a disservice than anything else because, you know, you got to be doing a lot of these things on your own. Most of them. All right. I understand that, you know, you can hire people to do certain things. You know, you know, you don't want to go to immigration to do your paperwork. Okay, fine. Hire somebody to do that, you know, or you don't want to go, you know, get your tag for your car. You know what I mean? You don't want to go register your car. Okay, you know, you can go hire somebody to do that. I get it. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of things of convenience that you can do, and even Mexicans do out here. You know, they don't want to go stand at the DMV for days. All right, to get their, you know, the registration for their car. So you can outsource that, you know. So there's things you can do, all right, that, you know, sometimes it's worth it, sometimes not. But the reality is that you got to do a lot of that work yourself. And the more you do on your own, the better it's going to be. You know, the more, you know, if you hire somebody, they're going to charge you. They're going to charge you a fee, and they're also going to charge you more for whatever you're renting or buying or whatever it is. All right, so it comes at a price. All right, convenience comes at a price. All right. And some people are more than happy to pay for it. Again, if I had millions of dollars, if I had a lot of money, yeah, I mean, come on, of course. I'd be paying for the convenience, who wouldn't, right? But for a lot of people that don't have that much money, well, you can't pay for everything. There's a lot of things that you're going to have to do on your own. And this is why I do the videos that I do, and I talk about everything that I talk about here on the channel, because I came out here with I came out here 7.5 years ago with only 1,500 left in my name, and I figured it all out. All right, so it can be done. I'm not saying it's easy. Again, I don't pretend to. All right, we go into detail here on the channel. So I know it's not easy, but what I try to do is just try to make it as easy as possible for you guys by giving you guys, again, information that I got through the years, from trial and error. Right? You know how many times I failed and fell on my face, and you guys were there with me, and we all learned together, and so on and so forth. And not just me, but many other people. And so, that's what this channel is about. It's been my journey since I've been living here. My journey, again, just trying to get all my things together that you guys also need to get together. And, it's funny because a lot of times I'll bump into some of you guys that, you did well in life, or you got resources, or whatever it is, and you guys just watch me to watch me, for entertainment purposes only, because you guys just are able to take care of everything on your own. And it is what it is. I'm glad that I can help whoever it is out there, in whatever way I can. But really, more than anything else, a lot of times, what my videos are just helping people out there that just don't have all the resources, and that's what I've always done on this channel. And what we're going to continue to do on this channel. Again, even now as, I need to start earning more money. I'm not looking at that as a negative thing. I'm looking at that as a challenge, as a new way, a new problem for me to have a solution to provide for you guys. Because obviously a lot of you guys are going to be in a similar situation. You need to make money. Again, I do YouTube videos to make money, but again, you guys have known now for the last several months, it doesn't make as much money as it used to, so we got to pivot and we got to do other things. It doesn't mean I'm going to quit what I do. I love what I do. I love doing these things. But again, this is, the nature of the beast. And, for a lot of you guys that have been following me for years, okay, you guys already know that's what my MO is on this channel and what I do here on this channel. All right. I'm not here to, cry and complain. And no, we're here to provide solutions. We're here to make it happen. That's it. You know what I mean? If you really want to live in Mexico, you can make it happen. If you want to get that residency, you can get it. If you need a job, you can. All these things are available to you. All right? You just got to go out there and make them happen. Now, I understand, it's a little difficult to do that if you don't have that, the guide, the information, the whatever. So that's why I provide all that for you guys. No excuses. All right? If someone's worried about residency or worried about jobs, I got tons of information and videos on that, and we can talk about that. And I got all the solutions. Again, there's certain things I can't talk about and do here on the, on the live streams and on my channel per se. But again, this is why people consult with me, because there are certain problems, certain situations that there's always a solution in Mexico. Viva Mexico! Amen to Mexico! All right, there's always a solution out here. So that's the thing. And I mean, like at the end of the day, if you really want it bad enough, you can make it happen, but it's not going to come easy. Obviously, the more you got, the easier it's going to be. But for a lot of people out there, as each day goes on, you're going to have less and less. You're going to have more and more headaches. It's going to be more and more difficult, for you to finally embark on this, journey, to get out of the country, to get out of the, to go to Mexico, go wherever. All right. So, we got D-Mao with a $10 super chat. Oh my gosh, thank you very much. Happy New Year. Thank you for sharing your experiences and knowledge. Oh, muchas gracias. Muchos appreciated. Thank you so much. Happy New Year to you too. Feliz Año Nuevo. Thank you very much. Thank you. As always, from the bottom of my heart, really appreciate it. Hold on, we're trying to, man, I'm always, there it is. There. Thank you. Jared Payton says, I hate to leave here. 6 months pre-pandemic, I came. Moving is terrible. It sucks in Mississippi, I guess. Yeah, man. I get it, man. I know it's not easy. So, thank you, Luna. for the kind words. Yes, Guadalajara is amazing. I love Guadalajara. Eunice is saying unrest in the USA makes me want to escape to a peaceful country like Mexico. Exactly. That's the thing too. Like it's there's all this propaganda and misinformation on Mexico as to how dangerous it is. But it's like, the USA, in my opinion, again, my humble opinion, okay, I'm just a dumb YouTuber that lived most of his life in the USA. Anyways, in my humble opinion, the USA is a lot more dangerous than most countries in the world out there, and a lot more dangerous than Mexico. But that's just my humble opinion. Look, this is why I make the videos that I make. Notice that a lot of my videos, you don't even see my face, or you see my face in a little corner or whatever, right? And I'm just showing you how life is like out here, the good, the bad, the ugly. And at the end of the day, after so many years of filming out here, you would think I would have caught some crazy things, right? Or there would be more crazy things happening out here, but it's a complete opposite. You see a lot of peace, a lot of harmony, a lot of, just people living their lives, and enjoying their lives. And not to say that people are not having difficult lives and difficult situations and all this other stuff, but it's just a completely different animal than what you guys are living in the USA. It was already horrible. It was already dangerous and horrible in the USA when I left. I can't imagine what it is right now. It's insane. Just like that thing that happened in Minnesota yesterday, that's insane. To me, the insanity, I don't like talking about these things on this channel, but, to me, the insanity about what that is again, it doesn't matter who was right, who was wrong, whatever. The point of the matter is that, that should not be normalized, to just get shot in cold blood like that. That would never, ever, ever happen in Mexico. If all of a sudden you're in Mexico and you get stopped by the cops in Mexico, you're in a similar situation in Mexico, and you've seen the Mexican cops, right? They have these machine guns, they're armed to the teeth because, they're fighting the cartel, right? Whatever. Anyway, so, and you see how the Mexican police are, right? And if that were a similar situation, never, ever, 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 under any circumstance would there be any kind of shots fired. So it's just little things like that is what I'm getting at, because like in Mexico, something like that were to happen. Let's say that the lady, ran over the cop's foot, maybe even caused a little injury. Whatever. They just let her get away. If she's a real criminal, they'll get her later, or not at all. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, and that's it. I don't know, man. To me, I don't want to get into all that. But look, it's just things like that I lived, because some of you guys know my story. I dealt, with the police firsthand. I, got wrongfully arrested. I got, I had to deal with all that. And it's, knock on wood, I'm lucky to be alive, lucky to be here. That's why, after moving to Mexico and seeing what life is like out here, it's like I could never, ever, ever go back to the USA to live. Maybe I'll go visit, with a bulletproof vest and a helmet and all this other stuff. But you live there? No way. No way, Jose. You know what I mean? Like, are you kidding me? So, and, it's just things like that. You know what I mean? You're not seeing the cartel, do public executions in the middle of the street on, on live TV, out here. If you would, you'd see it all over the news. All right? Again, we know that there's violence. We know that they're killing each other and fighting each other, but they're not doing the horrible things that are going on in the USA. And again, it's not even about that. It's about the normalization and about so many people, how do I say this? What's the word I'm looking for? Thinking it's okay. Like that, like law and order. This is the way. This is the thing, instead of, whatever happened to morals, whatever happened to ethics, whatever happened to, man, I don't know, man. You know what I mean? It's just weird, man. And I remember I live in Mexico. I've been out here long enough already. Mexico, they have a very, very, how do I say this? Close relationship with death. All right? They celebrate death out here. And yet, it's not even anywhere remotely close to the, how they celebrate death or how they celebrate all that stuff in the USA. It's unreal to me. And I think for a lot of people out there that are just unsure about moving to another country or whatever, it's because, you guys are stuck where you're stuck in the USA and you think that it's worse out there. But the reality is that, look, this is why, the USA, when most countries, but, really the USA in this case, doesn't want you to travel, doesn't want you to visit other countries. They don't want you to see how it's like everywhere else. Because once you see what it's like everywhere else, you automatically think to yourself, what the F am I doing in the USA? Now, of course, you travel elsewhere, you go back to the USA, and you just go back to your life. Very, very, very few people say, all right, I'm moving to Italy. All right, I'm moving to Mexico. All right, I'm moving to, very few people have that realization. All right, knowing everything that you know right now. And so that's the thing. It's like, a lot of people have been brainwashed to the point where, even though, they experience what it's like to be in another country, they still believe the propaganda and they believe, all this other stuff. That, again, that, the USA is the safest country in the world. The USA, is the epitome of freedom and so on and so forth. Again, for many of you guys out there that have been following me long enough, you guys know that's one of the things I harp on the most on this channel is the freedom you have here. The freedom you have, not just here, but in most countries abroad. All right. And you really don't realize, how little freedoms you actually have in the USA until you actually go to a country with real freedom. And this is not a political thing when, talking about this because, the whole loss of freedoms in the USA, this is not a new thing. This is not this president or the last president no, this has been something that's been eroding for decades. And some of you guys know this, some of you guys don't. All right. But at this point, I think most people have already figured it out or realized it. If you haven't figured it out by now, you're just burying your head deeper into the sand. And you know why I don't mind talking about this stuff right now? Because, well, the people that are applauding, the kind of behavior that's going on in the USA, or how do I say this? Or what's the word I'm looking for? Or think it's okay, that behavior, in the USA. Those are not people that are looking into moving to Mexico. All right. The people that are looking into moving to Mexico at this point are people that do not find any of that kind of behavior. All right. In the USA. Okay. All right. Period. End of story. And, I've mentioned it many times on this channel, my other channels. I've mentioned it many times throughout the years. It doesn't matter who's president. It doesn't matter who's in power. It doesn't matter what, So, and we're seeing it. We're seeing the insanity going on right now. And, I literally published a video a couple of days ago talking about the Venezuela situation, and I had so many people, just leave so many, ass backwards comments on there, and I'm like, all right, whatever, man. I really don't care. I really don't care. To me, it's just like, watch my video, give me the engagement. I don't care if you hate me. It's like, I'm used to it by now. Like I've been used to it before I even became a YouTuber. By the way, shout out to Luna with a $2 super chat. Sorry, my apologies. I saw it. I see it out of the corner of my eye. So shout out to Luna there. Muchas gracias. I really appreciate it. Thank you. So, what happened? All right. Yeah, that's also for, I don't know if I did it for, anyways, for D-Mao. Shout out to D-Mao. But yeah, guys, so yeah, at the end of the day, freedom, now more than ever, like it's on display. The fact that you don't have any kind of freedom in the USA at all. You're seeing it. You're seeing it every single day. Nobody has freedom, really. And, yeah, like coming, compared to like Mexico, compared to many other countries out there, it's night and day. It's like you're living in another planet when you're in the USA. No, so I have many friends in the USA that, man, I can't believe I'm having a brain fart on the word, excuse the behavior, or have a reasoning behind the behavior in the USA. I'm talking about the thing that just happened, but, many things that have happened recently. The reality is that it's just that, I don't know, man. It's just like, I feel like, when you're talking to a drug addict and they just, nothing you tell them they're going to listen to. And so anyways, all right, sorry. Let me read some comments there, My apologies for going on my rants. Oh, there's one of my good friends there. Shout out to Mr. Tim. Shout out to you, brother. Oh, man. So, all right. So we got let me read some comments. You will notice the immigration to and fro is different for both countries. Mexicans arrive for opportunities without wealth. Americans with wealth move to Mexico. Yeah, but see, look, to create gentrification. But again, if you were just listening to the whole live stream I'm talking about, that's not the case at all. You know what I mean? The reality is that now more than ever, more and more Americans and other people from other parts of the world are moving to Mexico as immigrants, not expats, as immigrants. People are looking for work, looking to start a business, looking to contribute, looking to be a part of the community. Very different. So, and again, I've talked about gentrification on this channel multiple times. All right. Gentrification is caused by other Mexicans. Mexicans own those businesses. Mexicans own those homes that are rented out. So who's raising the rent? Mexicans. Who's raising the prices? Mexicans. Who's excluding other Mexicans? Mexicans. So I don't want to hear that. I'm no. All right, I am not one of those guys. Gentrification has its good and its bad things. I talk about it here on the channel all the time. I ride around the city all the time. I go to villages in the middle of the jungle all the time, and you see the gentrification at different levels all over. And when I go to a little village, and all of a sudden I see gentrification there, and I see who's gentrifying, and I see who's taking it. What is it? Using the gentrification. It's the people living in the village, nobody else. And the same thing goes out here. There are many levels to it. And right now, when you're going to certain parts of any city on earth, there are certain parts that are just for certain high income levels. Certain areas that at one time were not desirable and now all of a sudden are desirable. Again, I've talked about this in depth on my channel, talking about gentrification and stuff like that. So I don't want to hear that, conversation, or that. I mean, I do want to hear it. We talk about it, but I'm saying, but that, what is it? That excuse is tired. That excuse is old. That excuse does not hold any validity anymore. All right, because that's not the fact. That's not the true reality of it. Because when it's like, oh well, gringos are coming out here and buying the properties. Okay, who's selling the properties, man? Who's selling the properties? It's other Mexicans, and I could go on. All right. And like I'm out here in Mérida, Yucatan, all right? And, we have a lot of Americans, Canadians, all Europeans living out here. But who is the majority of the people that are gentrifying the city for real, for real? It's Mexicans from Mexico City. All right? So, give me a break, all right? So, That's right. Shout out to Hanson out there. That's right. But yeah, guys, at the end of the day, it's a very different situation out here. And a lot of the gentrification that's happening in Mexico, again, most Mexicans are taking full advantage of it. And it's a different animal, man. Like I said, I've gone into super details in that. I'm triggered too. I got triggered with a gentrification comment. Yeah, because look, I'm not anti-capitalist. I am a fan of capitalism, right? I am not a fan of communism, all right? My parents were Cuban and left communism, but I'm a fan of capitalism. I am not a fan of runaway capitalism. I am not a fan of crony capitalism. I am not a fan of, oligarchies. I'm not a fan of any of those things, okay? But just plain straight up capitalism, I'm a huge fan. Why? Because if you understand what capitalism is, then you understand it's freedom, pure freedom. So back when I was talking about the USA and not having freedoms there to even start a business is because, there are so many restrictions, so many laws, so many permits, so many everything that impede your ability to conduct business. And so they're basically restricting your ability, okay, to be a capitalist, to do capitalism. Okay, but like in a place like, let's say, China or Mexico, where they don't have that many laws or that many restrictions or anything like that, impeding on you doing business, well then capitalism is alive and well, and you can, come out here and do your thing. Look, this is why you see so many vendors on the street, so much informal economy that just functions on cash. Again, you see so many vendors on the street, whether they're selling food or selling artisanal things or selling whatever. And depending on where they want to be, You know what I mean? If you're, and most people don't need any kind of business license or any kind of permit or anything like that. And they can just conduct business and they can live and they can feed their families and they're not going to get arrested and they're not going to, all the things that happen in the USA. You know what I mean? So it's just a lot of little things like that. That, again, that's there's so much more freedom out here because there's real capitalism out here. And, in the USA, the way I look at things, it's looking like it's moving, in the complete opposite direction. All right. Meaning, again, you guys know what kind of government is the one in which you have no rights. All right. You got no ability to do anything. All right. You have nothing that you can do or say against the government without any kind of repercussion. That's not freedom. Sorry to tell you that. So we got Arby saying inflation of fiat currency elevates prices, including taxes. American inflation will create inflation all over the world. I mean, yes and no, Arby, because the reality is that as the world turns, the world is de-dollarizing and more of the world is using less and less dollars. Again, because most countries are trying to get away from the dollar, trying to get away from the U.S. But on top of that, the U.S. is literally shooting itself in the foot constantly by putting sanctions and putting restrictions on countries around the world from using the dollar. So, and, again, right now with everything they're just doing with Venezuela, the U.S. might take over Greenland. I mean, if that continues, I mean, that dollar is not going to be used outside of the Americas, So... not much anyway. I'm telling you, it's getting pretty crazy out there. So, So shout out to everyone out there. I'm reading. Let me see. Sorry, I'm just reading a few comments. I don't want to read everything out loud. Anyways, but yeah, guys, shout out to everyone out there. I appreciate it. Reading a few comments there. Hopefully you guys are all right. But anyways, so yeah, guys. Okay, let's just talk about the channel for a minute. But anyways, guys, I forgot to mention, man, my channel is about to hit 36,000 subscribers. Where am I at now? I forgot to mention to you guys. I'm like 25 away. Yeah, we got 25 subscribers away to get to 36,000. So if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. Please hit the like button. Really would appreciate that. Thank you very much. Shout out to everyone out there. But also, guys, remember, we're going to be moving in a different direction this year on this channel and on my other channels. I'm literally currently working on stuff for the other channel right now in the other room. All right? Remember, we're going to go back to cooking. We're going to go back to a bunch of stuff. So real quick, guys, a little shameless plug. Don't forget, guys, I have multiple channels, right? I got my Jose Unleashed, which normally I would go live on every single Thursday, but we're moving in a completely different direction here, all right? You'll see, when I start uploading videos here, I'll let you guys know on this channel as well. And also my cooking channel is coming back online, all right? So, again, we're working on a bunch of new things. For the, again, cooking channel, a bunch of recipes, a bunch of cool stuff. Same thing as Unleashed, a lot of behind the scenes, a lot of vlog type stuff, a lot of cool, fun stuff. And then on this channel, we're also going to be doing a bunch of new stuff, or, we're going to be doubling down on a lot of the stuff that you guys already thoroughly enjoy. All right. So, things like the house tours, the live streams, and other videos that you guys enjoy, when I'm riding around town, walking around town, talking about certain subjects and so on and so forth. Plus, all the information that I'm always providing here, I'm always going to be providing all this information. This is why, I do these live streams, to answer questions as well, not just in the comments section. You guys also know, you guys can leave a comment down below. I answer them and so on and so forth. So, yeah, actually, I've been cooking for years, guys. Again, I've been on YouTube for 10 years. And no, actually, I've been on YouTube for over 10 years. In October was my 10-year anniversary. So I've been on YouTube for over 10 years. This cooking channel is many years old. I've done all kinds of cooking on here. Unleash is a couple years old. I had another channel even older than that, and so on. All the links are if you want to get the links, all the links are on my website. and they're also on my YouTube page. So that's my YouTube page where you're watching this on. Just scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you got my channels right there. All right. So, but yeah, the cooking stuff is nothing new per se. It's just I'm reviving it, because that's the thing, with all the craziness happening in the world, all these things that are going on, the reality is that, it's also made me reassess, my own life, my own journey, my own everything. And, honestly, what I mean? I just want to do what I want to do, what I love to do. One of the main reasons I moved to Mexico is so that I can live my life. You know what I mean? To me, it's not about having fancy things or having a lot of money. Of course, we all want money. Of course, we all want nice things. But the reality is freedom. Freedom is why I moved out here. And the freedom to do what I want. So if I want to make YouTube videos about making carrot cake and hummus, well, guess what? You know what I mean? I can do it out here. I can't do that in the USA per se. All right? And so on and so forth. So that's the thing. Yes, we're going to go back to that. We're going to be going and doing, again, a bunch of new things on this channel as well. On the Mexico channel, and it's all going to intertwine. Again, I don't want to reveal anything. Again, I'm supposed to be working on this throughout this week. In fact, this week was still my vacation week, but I had to come back. And remember, I had to publish a video on Sunday. I had to come back today because there's just so many crazy things going on, and I felt like, man, I gotta show up for you guys. You guys need me. I work for you guys, so it is what it is. So. And my wife looks like Anita from West Side Story. I read that wrong. I thought you said my wife looked like Antifa. I was like, bro. Anyway, so. Oh, my goodness.
Bruh.
All right. Oh, we got Alex Jacobs. Right? Alex Jacobs. Thank you so much for $20 super chat. Wow. Mucho appreciated. Thank you very much. It's greatly appreciated as always. Thank you. Hold on. There we go. Thank you. Starting up the year with the bang. By the way, it's funny because as the year was coming to an end, I wasn't selling any T-shirts. Things were kind of getting whatever, getting a little dicey out there. But as soon as Christmas was over, a lot of you guys bought a lot of T-shirts. You guys are buying T-shirts. So again, thank you guys very much for buying T-shirts. Let me again, my store here. Let's go to my website real quick so you guys can see. My store. All the way at the top. Click on store. All right, in case you guys are curious. All right, and then you can see the shirts that I sell. All right, you got Gulf of Mexico T-shirts. You got long story short, I digress. Do the work. And my bicycle T-shirt. So on and so forth. All right. So shout out to all of you guys out there that have helped support the show in one shape, form, or another, which is gracias. And again, we got things on deck. We got things coming down the pike, for you guys to also not just, again, help the show, but also interact with the show, especially if you're out here in Merida and stuff like that. So, man, I'm really excited to be bringing you guys, a bunch of the new stuff we got on deck. So, yeah, man, slowly but surely, we're making our way. So, we got, Morelia by June. We got the $2 super chat. Oh, my gosh, thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. Muchas gracias. Hold on a second. Really appreciate that. Hold on a second. I got so many things going on here. We got Speeding Gringo is watching me on 3 devices. All right, like a boss. And again, guys, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Let me see how many. We got 25 subscribers. We got 24 left. 24 to get to 36,000 subscribers. We're almost there. And again, thank you for hitting the like and all that good stuff. And what was I gonna say? I don't know what else to say. Let me. You guys have any things any questions? Kind of running on fumes here. Hold on a second. What did I do with a little music in the back? There it is. All right. Eunice says healthy food options without processed stuff on your channel would be awesome. Yeah, for sure. Can't wait to see your cooking. Yeah, so some of you guys know my history. Some of you guys don't know my history. Before I ever did YouTube, what I did for a living was I was a chef. I was a cook. That's what I did for a living. So yeah, don't worry, guys. That's things that I'm working on. But the thing is, it's like I'm not just gonna. How do I say this? I'm not gonna just. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm not gonna limit myself to certain recipes or certain things. A lot of the things that I do, the cooking wise, are healthy. From scratch, from start to beginning. So, for example, when I'm gonna be making my hummus, we're making hummus from scratch. No canned beans, none of that stuff. Okay, we're making our tahini. We're making the chickpeas. We're doing everything from scratch. Again, there's only a few ingredients, okay? But it's things like that. So, but again, there's certain things out there, that they're just going to require some sort of processed ingredients in there, okay? Because I'm a fat ass and I like to eat all kinds of things, and I'm not here trying to limit, everything, But yes, I try to stick to the healthier versions or alternatives, to many of these things, or just a healthy, the real food, real deal Holyfield. So yes, that's the thing. And again, we're going to be focusing on, things that we have available out here. We're going to be going through my Rolodex. Look, real quick, guys, for those of you guys that are interested in the cooking, okay? Real quick. On my cooking channel, all right? I'm going to put the link in the chat so you guys can check it out if you're interested, okay? But right here on my cooking channel, okay, again, I've been doing this for years, okay? When I first started doing this, I was just live cooking, doing live streams cooking. So, if you click on the live stream thing there, you click live, you see my videos, and my videos are like 3, 4, 5 hours long, 2, 3 hours long, because I would make meals from scratch, make everything from scratch, whether we're making hummus all the way from the beginning to end, 4 hours and change. We're making some chicken piccata. We're making lasagna. We're making gazpacho. We're making, Cuban food. We're making, look, how about this? Some of these videos are so old that, look at this one. So I did this video back literally when the Ukraine war started. Okay, so when the Ukraine war started, look at me, see? So I dressed like a gopnik, and we started, look at that. We downed the whole bottle of vodka.
Welcome to a very special episode, a very special week of, Gopnik cooking, okay? We are going to be honoring our Slav brothers.
Anyway, so as you guys can see, I'm there cooking. And again, we're doing something completely different. We're not going to be doing this. And we moved to a different house. We're in a different everything, all right? So, but we're going to be doing just more, just regular short videos, doing certain things and so on and so forth. But as you guys can see, like, I'm a machine, all right? So what I used to do is that, I used to have a menu, and this is what we're going to be cooking today, and we will start from beginning to end, all right? So we're starting everything from scratch. So yeah, like I said, if you want to already check out some of my, older videos, older live streams as to what I've done already, you guys can check those out. And but really what I'm going to start doing is that we're going to go back to just regular basic cooking. Again, some of these videos, these videos right here that you're looking at the top, these are re-uploads. This is from my original channel. This is like, some of these are like 10 years old. Like my abuelitas. Look at this one. Look, my grandma's. Look at this. Look how fat I look there. And look at that. Like, no gray in my beard. Look at that. So that's like in Seattle. That's when I lived in Seattle like 10 years ago. All right. And we just made some rice pudding, man. We're going to make some rice pudding. So anyway, so that's how I started doing YouTube. I started doing this kind of stuff, and it was terrible video. But anyways, whatever, man. We're making rice, all right? Made my grandma's, black beans, steak sandwiches. You can see me hanging around Seattle, whatever. But anyways, and then when I was here in Mexico, and I was dating my wife, well, guess what? We made some cooking videos together. So this is at my other place, all right? When I first moved here. Hold on. I'm not gonna have. Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome back. In today's episode, we're gonna be making some apple cobbler. All right. Now, I'm not gonna have an exact recipe for this. So, anyways, we're just cooking whatever. So.
Apples. All right.
See, we got the local Mexican apples.
we pour it back in here.
We got Christian having some.
Can't beat it.
Oh yeah, look, we're watching the Super Bowl there.
Look at
No,
that.
no. I won't eat the ice cream, I promise.
So anyways, guys, wait, wrong button. So yeah, guys, you know what I mean? We're gonna go back to cooking. We're gonna go back to having fun. We're gonna go back to all that, and I can't wait to bring it all to you. Plus, like I said, we got a bunch of other things on deck, especially on this channel, and we're gonna marry all three channels together, and it's gonna be fun. And at least for me, you know what I mean? So hopefully fun for you guys as well. And you guys are gonna be, you know, following me on my journey. When I first moved to Mexico, you know, I was doing different kinds of videos for this channel. And, you know, as time went on, all that morphed into basically, you know, the channel that we got right now. But what's gonna, you know, again, what we're doing is that we're gonna now, this is another kind of rebirth year, you know, changing things up year. And, you know, again, you know, as the years have gone on, I know that there's certain types of videos, certain types of things that you guys love. Those are not going away. And then, yeah, and in fact, I'm going to be making more of those. But yeah, long story short, we're pivoting, we're changing things up. And it's just, again, just to keep it fun and engaging and exciting and stuff for me. And same for you guys, you know what I mean? So it is what it is. You know, we're moving into a new world and we got to roll with the punches. So it is what it is. So anyway, shout out to everyone out there. Really appreciate you guys. We got R Fink says, life is too short to try and get rich, only to leave it all behind. That's right. That's why I love the Mexican culture. They are not living to get filthy rich like some countries I know. Yeah, and so that's the thing. Again, listen, all right? I'll put it to you guys like this, okay? In fact, let's go full screen for 1 second, all right? I'll put it to you guys like this, all right? You guys have seen The Wolf of Wall Street, correct? And there's a I wish I could play the scene here, but, you know, they don't let me, you know, Universal Pictures or whatever, it doesn't let me put the thing. I get dinged every time I try to put it. But it's one of my favorite scenes, one of my favorite quotes, one of my favorite everything. And I'm going to butcher it, but hopefully you guys can figure it out. But there's a scene in which Leonardo DiCaprio is basically talking to everybody, you know, his staff. And he goes on with the speech saying, I have been a rich man and I have been a poor man. And there is no nobility in being poor. All right? Because at the end of the day, we all got the same problems. We all got the same situation. We all got the whatever. But when I'm dealing with going to the courthouse, when I'm dealing with my shitty problem, when I'm dealing with my whatever, well, guess what? You know what I mean? I'm showing up, all right, in my Mercedes, with my hot wife, with my awesome life. And you are, and again, you know, in your, you know, 1987 El Camino with your, you know, a cow of a wife and blah, blah, blah. And again, the whole thing about that quote, okay, it's not about money. It's not about anything. You guys know me. You guys know how I live. It's about the things that you value in life. And, you know, money is just a tool. That's all it is. And, you know, I used to be one of those idealistic individuals that's like, oh, I don't need money. Oh, money is bad. Money is the root of all evil. No, it's not. It's not. It's a tool. That's all it is. All right? And you cannot be the tool. Okay? That is the tool. And that cannot be your sole purpose of life. Again, I've had a lot of money. Again, you guys can look at my videos in Seattle. I was making money. I've been up and down. All right? Throughout my life. But at the end of the day, you know, one thing that I've always wanted to remain consistent is my quality of life. You know, one thing that I've worked on very, very, you know, a lot on. Sorry, my English is not so good. But anyway, something that I worked very hard on. And, you know, right now, like I said, you know, I might not be rich, but I don't got a problem going to the grocery store and buying whatever I need. You know, I got my beautiful wife. I got a horse. I'm an equestrian, for crying out loud. You know, I got my amazing 3-bedroom house. You know, I got an amazing job. I got an amazing, crowd out there. You know, you guys out there. You know, we're all in this together. You know, and what more could I want? Now, of course, we all want more things. We all want bigger things. But it's about the journey. It's about the challenge. It's about the fun. So right now, I need a few more bucks. You know, just because life is getting expensive. Okay, fine. No time to panic. Time to, you know, reinvent myself and just get back to the grind a different way and take you guys along for the ride. and bring it all together and enjoy the journey, enjoy the ride, enjoy everything about it. If all of a sudden I got to go back, which we had to, if we got to go back to eating beans and eating eggs and eating, rice and just eating that all day, just to make it through the month, we'll do it. It's not a big deal. Why? Because everything else in our lives is amazing. All right. And we can't, we cannot afford, saying like we cannot eat steak every night. All right. Now we could, but then that would put us in a financial predicament, which we don't need to be in. So again, just going back to that whole thing, money, the reality is that of course we all want money, we all want this, whatever. But again, what is the end goal with that money? Are you just looking to stack all that money to just say that you got more than everybody else and at the end of the day die, with all that money in your bank and no life to have been lived? Or do you want to live that life and then barely have enough in the bank account by the time you cash out? By the time you have to, go see the pearly gates, St. Peter's or whatever. And that's the way I live my life. You know what I mean? Like, I understand that money is a very necessary tool to get from point A to point B. Like, for example, I want to travel, other parts of Mexico. I want to do all these things. I need money for that. I'm not going to sit here and beg for it. I'm not going to cry. No, listen. It's like there's ways to find the solution to that. It's going to take a lot of hard work and dedication and this and that. But again, if you love what you do, if you're focused, if you enjoy it, if you are, like, all these things that you have to be in control of, if you got all that in check, you got nothing to worry about. It's all about the journey. It's all about the fun. So again, as this year starts and I have all these challenges, I'm looking at it with the biggest smile on my face because it's like, yeah, man, this is going to be fun. This is going to be an adventure. This is the beginning of a new journey. This is the beginning of a brand new everything. Not just for me, but for anyone else out there that's also, watching vicariously through me or joining me or whatever it is. Whether you've been watching for years or you just started watching a couple days ago. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? But again, I've said this since day one, since I've been doing my videos on YouTube and stuff like that. I do all this for me. I do this for me. It just so happens that all of you guys out there get benefit from it. And I love, to give. I love to entertain. I love to do all the things that I do. But again, guys, I do all this for me. This is why, when I get people in my comment section or on my YouTube channel telling me, hey, I should do this, or hey, I don't like this, or hey, I hate that you said that. I don't care. I don't care. I love you guys. I love all of you guys. But, the reality is that I do this for me. It just so happens that many of you guys, the majority of you guys, get a lot of benefit from everything I do. And that's the thing. That's my MO. That's how I do things. That's how I function, at least, at least now, going forward, now going forward, but since forever. I've been doing this for years now. So, going back to like the cooking stuff, real quick, let's go back to that for a second. Oh, wrong button. So just going back to the cooking stuff real quick, that's what we're going to be kind of working on as well. I'm here to, give you guys, information, knowledge, recipes, whatever, things that you're actually going to be using. And again, I completely forget sometimes, I think a lot of us forget sometimes that when we know something or we, have a skill, we forget that others might not have that skill. And again, even though we're older, we think, oh, people should know that, but they don't. And so that's the idea. I have a lot of friends out there, for example, that are looking to get healthier. And, friends, like actual friends, not YouTube people, just, friends that I've known before I even moved to Mexico, my real friends, okay? And they ask me things like, hey, Jose, I'm starting to cook for myself, or hey, Jose, I'm starting a workout routine. Hey, Jose, I'm doing it. What do you recommend for me to do with this? Or hey, I want to make some really badass, key lime pie. Do you know a recipe for it or whatever, right? And I'm always helping people with that. I enjoy that. I enjoy talking about food and history and tips and knowledge and everything that goes with all that. So again, I love to talk. I love to do the things that I do. So again, this is where we're just going to go back to pivoting to that. I've been doing, cooking videos for a long time now, trying to always do something new. And, a lot of experiments, and some have been failures, some have been a success. But we're going to continue with that. And, at the end of the day, it's food. Who doesn't love food, right? So, am I right? So, we're just kind of going to go back to that. But again, we're not abandoning anything on this channel. We're not doing, we're just, if you guys have been following me long enough, you guys know I do it all. So, at the end of the day, we're just going to put it all together and you guys are going to join me on the journey. And that's it. So, all right, guys. All right, we got one last comment. All right, Pedro says, "Thanks for bringing a." Oh, sorry. Thanks for bringing a practical, uplifting yet down to earth perspective from your experience that also encourages people's dreams and keeps them alive. Well balanced point of view as always. You know, thank you, brother. Appreciate that, Pedro. Shout out to you. Bangor says, living life with your bank account and body all used and worn out is the best way. Go out with the bang. That's right. You gotta go out with the bang, man. So, we got JPM says, Nick Fuentes, MAGA YouTuber, has a whole continent cover up with a USA flag. What? Oh, I don't know. Anyways, so yeah, there's no buyer engineered food stuffs out here, so that I know of. I'm sure there's some Snickers that got through the grapevine. But anyways, all right, guys, we're gonna get out of here. I've already gone an hour and a half, and I got things to do. So I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and joining me today. You guys already know the deal. I'll see you guys here on Sunday. I'll see you guys here next Thursday. And again, starting hopefully by next week, I should have already videos up on Unleashed and on the cooking channel. So hopefully by the time that we do our live stream here on this channel next week, I'll be able to point you in that direction so you guys can check out those videos and so on. Again, and if you're interested in the cooking channel, please go subscribe, hit the bell icon, so that way you know exactly, when I drop a video, so you don't have to wait for me to tell you on this channel, and you guys can just go and check it out on your own. Oh my God, I hate these Bluetooth things, man. Come on, man. All right, sorry. Anyway, so and you guys can just check that out on your own. So all that good stuff. And again, if you guys want to hear my real opinion on many things, because I know someone asked me something about Nick Fuentes there or whatever, I'm not going to talk about any of that stuff here. But if you guys want to, hear my real opinion on what I have to say about those things, you guys can just go on ahead and check out Unleashed. All right, where I spent a couple years talking about, everything that we're at right now. All right, I'm tired. I'm sick and tired of talking about all that stuff. Because again, look, we're only 1 week into the year, and look at all the insanity. And so I'd rather just go cooking, or I'd rather share with you guys some other fun stuff. Okay, no need to focus on the negative. Time to focus on the positive. So, but again, if you guys want to hear, my comedic taste as well, on many things, go to my Unleashed channel and just click on live right there. Click on live and you guys can see everything. So, and I know some of you guys will enjoy it and some of you guys will hate it. So you guys go hate me over there, all right? So, all right, guys, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, for hanging out with me today. I really, really hope you guys, again, I hope, glad to see that you guys survived the year. All right. Sorry, the year is only a weekend, so glad you guys are out there surviving so far. But man, it's going to be one heck of a year. That is for sure. So you might as well make the best of it, or start planning ahead to make the best of it, because that's what I'm doing. Because otherwise, it's not going to be good. So, all right, guys, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Thanks again for hanging out with me today. See you guys next Thursday. See you guys on Friday. And you already know this. You already know the deal, guys. If you like this kind of content, don't forget to please like, please subscribe, please share, please the bell icon. But more importantly than anything else, please stay awesome. And like I said, I'll see you guys here next Thursday. Same bat channel, same bat time. Love you guys, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys. Oh, yeah. Happy New Year's. Feliz Año Nuevo.